Welcome to Trailblazers and Coffee, your podcast for elevating women in leadership, with your hosts, Dr. Christina Pecora and Dr. Abby Brown.
Listeners to the pod, we are so happy today to welcome attorney Erin Wilson. Erin, I'm going to let you introduce yourself, but I just wanted to say on behalf of Abby and myself, we're so happy to have a small business owner who is also an attorney. I feel like that you're just a different breed of person.
Thanks.
You're
I'll
welcome.
take that. Thanks for having me. Great to see you guys. So I'm Erin Wilson. I have a family law practice. So we do everything ranging from custody, divorce, parentage cases, prenups and postnups, orders of protection, ranging from like low conflict, uncontested, all the way to like super, super messy, financial, parenting, anywhere in between. So that's really what I say is our practice. It's family law focused, anywhere from low conflict to extremely difficult.
Yeah. Which we're not in person and we can only see Erin from like the shoulders up. But I am 5'1 3/4, and Erin and I are about at eye level, correct?
I'm shorter than you. I'm 5 feet and I have a half, I'm a 5 feet and a half inch. That
Me
half,
too. We're
really?
the same. Yes.
Awesome. Awesome.
So yeah, so for somebody to take on all of this high conflict, working with families and being in very stressful environments, very contentious at times environments, I just love the representation of the shorty in these high powered places.
Yes.
That is true. And I also want to add in terms of my practice, the other side of my practice I wanted to say also is I get appointed to advocate for kids. So I'm a guardian ad litem, I'm a child rep, I'm a parenting coordinator, and I do mediation. So that is the other side of my practice as well. That is really what I like to do most. So that is the other side of what I do.
Yeah, and you have a firm of like how many lawyers at this point?
So there's 6 lawyers and we've got support staff, all women. Yeah, and we work really hard. You know, I think the big thing is like we're communicative and we're responsive and we're engaged, right? Like we're gonna work with our clients, we're gonna counsel them, we're gonna give them advice, we're gonna talk to them, they're gonna hear from us. And I think that's like one of the biggest complaints people say is like, I don't know what's going on, I don't hear from my lawyer. And so I would say that's not what you're gonna get with us.
That's fantastic. I'm so happy. And we'll get more into your business too. But Abby, do you want to kick us off with our standard opening questions today?
Absolutely. I think we normally start with the what's in your cup,
Mhm.
right? Yeah. So, well, I'll just start. I have a venti iced vanilla latte as I do, especially with, having a little 2.5, almost 3-year-old little one needing that boost. But tell me, Christina and Erin, what is in your cup today?
I'll let Erin go first.
I drink herbal tea with honey. Sometimes say I have honey, not always, but it's herbal tea literally all day. It's all I drink.
How did you become an herbal tea drinker? I'm so curious.
Well, I've always been a tea drinker. I've never had coffee in my life.
What?
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
never.
Wow.
Dang.
I know. It's like my
Another
office really can't get over it. They're like, you just don't. So when I got pregnant 13 years ago, I mean, my daughter's 12 and a half.
Wow.
I didn't drink, I would drink like black tea before or chai tea or whatever and herbal tea. Like I just drank tea. And then I didn't drink black tea anymore when I got pregnant. And then I just never did again. Because I'm like, oh, it's fine. Of all of the bad habits that I might have,
Mhm.
like laying in the sun's a really bad habit I have. I don't drink caffeine, so I'll take it.
Take
That-
it. Take the win.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How about you, Christina?
Stay away from the addiction. I have my very own hot vanilla latte, which is wild because I never have the same drink as you, Abby.
You
But
don't?
I had to go and actually get it put in my own takeaway today because I am fighting jet lag and it is getting the better of me after noon for the last couple of days.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes.
So then we always move on to the next fun question. Christina, I'll let you ask it because it's a good one.
Okay, great. I do love this question, and I've been adding in a little bit more explanation to people because people were guests and listeners had some questions. And so we ask everyone, what is your blazer mood today? Like, what are you wearing today? As more of kind of a projective mood monitor question, right? So even if you're not donning a jacket, just give us like, what's your mood and what is your style spirit happening today? Erin,
That's
you kick
fair.
us off.
That's a good question. I like that. My style spirit today is like sweats. I'm going to be real honest. It has been a week. It is, my husband said this morning, he's like, I just can't believe he had a trial on Monday. He's like, I can't believe that was just Monday. Like it feels so long ago. Like it's just been a long week.
Mhm.
And today I'm not running. I'm not on the go. So I'm a sweat kind of girl today.
Love that.
I do too.
Love that. Abby.
Oh, mine is like beach nautical wear because I'm going down to Florida on Monday for several days by the beach. So like, like terry cloth or light linen or, a good breezy cotton, something like that.
Nice.
But
Like a neoprene that you could swim in.
oh yeah, that's not like a neoprene blazer. Okay. I'll be on the
Yeah.
hunt.
Next task. Next task. Yeah, I'm kind of feeling the springtime lately, but it's so chilly here in Chicago. I think the high is 47 today. So maybe it's like a nice cashmere blend, blue. I'm wearing a cashmere blend sweater. So I think my blazer mood today is just like, I want to be comfortable. I want to be warm enough. But I also want to be like bright and welcoming of the sunshine when it peeks through these clouds today.
Beautiful.
Awesome. Awesome. Great. All right. Now that we have those things out of the way, we can get back to talking about business and management. Erin, we sent you a few questions in prep, and I'm going to go through them, but I'm going to kind of start with one and then we'll see how we go.
Okay.
Because you have your own firm, you just said you have 6 attorneys, and then you also have a staff of women, and you lead these women. So obviously, you're a leader of your own business. And then you're also tending to clients. So, what does being a leading attorney who deals with people at their most vulnerable, like what does that look like? Do you accept the moniker of leader? And how does that help you help clients make good decisions or even your staff make good decisions when people are emotional?
Yeah, I think there's kind of a couple different parts to it. On the team side of things, like on our firm side of things, I try and listen to what everybody wants. And I think over the past few months, I'm trying to also just own my leadership a little bit more because I think for a while I was trying to like please a little too much. So I think I'm trying to scale back on that
Mhm.
and just make good decisions. I'll listen to what everyone says, but I'm also just going to decide. So I think I'm trying to do that a little bit more and just streamline it because I am the leader. And frankly, my team doesn't want to run a firm. They want to work at a firm, right? And I have a firm. So I think I'm learning to lean into that a little bit more. I think my office managers really pushed that on me, frankly, which I appreciate. So I'd say that is the leadership style within my firm and within our clients, right? Because it's two different buckets. It's running a practice and representing clients or advocating for kids. And with that, I think it's just not getting sucked into the emotion. I think that's my strength. I think that what anyone will tell you is my strength. I do not get emotional. So maybe also why I lean on amazing therapists like you guys, right? Is like you need a therapist. You need the emotional side of it. And I just want to like listen to what's going on for my clients and give them advice, but also not make decisions based on emotion.
And how do you keep that boundary? Does that come naturally to you? Have you had
Yeah,
to work on it?
no. I'm just made of walls and stone and black. And it's so easy and so natural.
How did you learn that about yourself?
Because everyone keeps asking me, like, how can you do what you do? It's so challenging. I'm like, it's not challenging to me. I'm
Mhm.
fine. So I
So,
don't mean it says more about like maybe that's super unhealthy,
No, I
but
mean,
I'm good. Like
but
I'm good. I just have like all these walls and boundaries and I don't get sucked in. And so it's funny because then within my practice, if someone in my firm, in my team is struggling with something, I have to tell them, like, I don't really get emotional. So if something's hard for you, you have to make it known to me. You have to say, like, you need to listen. This is hard. I'm struggling. And then I will listen, right? But I'm not just going to pick up on the fact that something might be hard for someone because it's not hard for me.
Hmm.
And so I've learned to be really clear of if you're struggling, I need to know because I won't get it unless you are very clear to me.
Hmm. Hmm.
Well, and Christine and I talked about this with one of our other guests, just in terms of how there can be counselor roles outside of mental health and outside. You are a counselor in your own
Yeah.
way, and I would say that that boundary setting and that direct communication and that ability to kind of not be sucked into the intensity of certain situations can be super effective. So I think there's a lot to be learned and a lot that can translate to the work that Christina and I do with our clients. So I think it's fantastic. And I think we can all learn from each other, right? To be more emotional at times and be less emotional at other times.
I do think too, you're just referencing a journey, right? Like your personal journey is I've identified a strength, I'm made of walls and they are black, and I don't have a problem with this, and I can manage this stuff. What happens when you see or like one of your staff or an attorney who can't manage that stuff? How do you lead them?
I don't know how do I lead them? I think that I'm really just like a problem solver. Like I think that when someone brings me an issue, then I just want to figure out like how do we fix it? So that's like I can't give a specific example necessarily, but I think again my office manager who knows me so well and I just she's amazing. She says she's like don't if you bring something up to Erin, she's gonna get on it and she's gonna fix it. So just, that is what I do, I guess, is I just try and fix like how are we going to fix this? How are we going to address this? I guess is what I would say.
Hmm.
And I imagine that that is a skill or approach that works both with your colleagues and also with your clients.
Definitely.
Being able to be steady and kind of be able to sift through and pinpoint what's really going on here that we can address as opposed to getting caught up in the weeds of all the
Yeah.
kind of the drama of things that is just natural to this, all of the processes I'm sure you're navigating.
Yeah, definitely. And, society has changed since we were talking before we hit the record button about Erin, how you and I met, and we met several years ago, definitely, certainly pre-pandemic times, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
so both of our fields have changed over the years. And I wondered if you could just talk about what you have noticed, how the practice
Yeah.
of law has changed over time, specifically family law. And, what trends are you seeing that most people outside of the field would be surprised by?
So I think, the impact of COVID on our practice was significant. Everything used to be in person. Court was in person, consultations with potential clients were in person, mediations were in person, everything was in person. And I think that the ability to use Zoom, someone doesn't have to take a day off work, an afternoon off work. I offer free consultations to someone who wants to hire me, right, for 30 minutes. That's 30 minutes. That's it.
Mhm.
Before they would have to take off, schlep downtown, come up and meet with me, give them coffee, sit them down, give them the bathroom key, all of these things. Now it's 30 minutes. And it's not just about my time, but it's their time too, right? So I think there's just a lot of time saving. I think that people can be better parents, can be better friends, better spouses, right? Because there's less time that's wasted, I think, in some ways. So I think that's really, so in that way, in terms of the pandemic, and I think that we're more intentional about what to do in person. There are certain things that are just better to do in person.
Mhm.
And I just think we're more intentional about thinking about that. And
Mhm.
so we're more thoughtful on our time.
Yeah.
So I think that in terms of the practice, I don't think it has anything to do with the pandemic or anything. I think one thing with the practice that has changed really for the positive, and I really think it's like kind of my generation, my cohort of people sort of coming up and opening their own practices or becoming partners in law firms now, is we work a lot more with therapists. There's a big focus on therapeutic intervention, whether it's with kids, whether it's co-parenting, just it's just less. In a way, it's more litigious because people may be angrier. Sometimes there's always like to say there's more substance use. People are in some ways more litigious,
Mhm.
but I think the professional's approach becomes way more therapeutic
Mhm.
and less, going at each other a lot of the time. So I think that that's really been a change for the positive. I just think we're pulling in more therapeutic teams to help families.
Mm.
So I'd say that's a big shift. And then another shift, which I would say just in terms of divorce trends, there's more political divorces, and I've never seen that before.
Really?
But people are so entrenched in some of their politics,
Mhm.
and we see separations because people are on very different sides and may get so pulled into their beliefs, and it becomes a major issue in the marriages in ways that I've never seen before.
What do you think accounts for that? I mean, I
I mean,
know.
do you really want me to go there? I mean, you want
Yes, absolutely. I want you to go there. Now that you said that too, I really
I
want you to
think,
go
listen, I think there's a lot of Trump politics, is what I think it is. And I think people who kind of get sucked into that can get sucked in kind of hard.
there.
And people who don't, it can become divisive and it can become insurmountable.
Hmm.
And that's just the reality that I think I'm seeing.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I can only speak to the therapy room and my, my own anecdotes with clients, but I haven't known any to for relationships to end, but well, romantic or, marital relationships, but certainly estrangement and making decisions to see family less frequent.
Yeah,
So I think perhaps this is just kind of happening across uh,
that makes sense.
right, the gamut here.
I
Hmm.
can see that because I see it within certain family dynamics too. And so I appreciate that analogy because I think it's the same.
Hmm.
I just see it in a different context than you see it,
Right.
but I think it's the same.
Hmm.
Yeah. And it's troubling on so many levels, I think probably in both of our professions, because everybody is walking around with this knowledge that like, oh, well, we don't talk to each other and we don't listen in the way that we used to, quote unquote. And sure, there is like one sociopathic narcissist at the core of this stuff, right? But also to see that affecting interpersonal relationships, dedicated relationships, family relationships, it's still, I just sit back and I'm kind of amazed by it. And I like to hear how it's affecting other people. Not that I like to hear that it is affecting, but just like how it's
Hmm.
affecting, because it really is a conundrum. We definitely, as psychologists, have people ask us all the time, like, why is that? Why aren't people listening to each other? Why aren't people compromising anymore? How do we get people to listen and to change their minds? And
And
it
what is your wise answer?
we don't have one, right? Like, I think that we're all walking around feeling this societal push to not talk to each other and not really take the time to understand the other and instead to dismiss the other. And that's a dangerous place to be in. Obviously, it like affects marriages, but it affects friendships and family relationships. And I don't know that there is one wise answer to it. I think it's intolerance.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it definitely has impacts that I will say.
For
Right.
sure.
If the tolerance is no longer there, then they make their way to you, I guess is what happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we try to get. I love the fact though too that you're using therapists more. I'd like to hear how that developed. Like, what was the impetus for that? Like, how did you notice that your clients needed more therapeutic intervention?
It's not even just my clients. I think it's just, working with families. And I think like a really good example is when there's estrangement with children and parents, right? And so rather than just saying, okay, we're not going to see them, or on the flip side, what was really happening is we're just going to make the kids go. And it just is. You don't get to make decisions, child. This is your parent. Here's your parenting time.
Mm, okay.
And I think there's really a trend of let's have some therapeutic reunification. Let's have some family therapy. And it's not just family therapy because family therapy's been there forever in concept,
Mhm.
but really targeted reunification. And before we always had supervisors. If a child couldn't be with a parent in a safe way, maybe due to substance use or something along those lines, generally, right? Anger management issues, what have you, you would just have a supervisor. But now we're really looking at it more therapeutically. And And then we're really working on like repairing relationships and not just forcing children, frankly, into situations that aren't emotionally safe for them. And so I think that that's been great. And I also think by bringing in these therapists to do more reunification work, sometimes you do get therapists saying, look, it's not the right move. It's helpful, right? Because sometimes it's really not safe for kids to be with parents in some instances for different reasons. And I think hearing it from the therapeutic perspective on behalf of the child is really helpful. So I think that's been really great. The other part of it where I just love working with therapists is on the co-parenting side of it, right? Before, I think it was just they don't get along, they hate each other, they can't talk to each other. That's why they're getting divorced. That's it. And then it just, right? That's not helpful going forward. And then like this idea, okay, well, you only have to do it till they're 18. No, there's college graduation, there's weddings, there's grandchildren, right? Like it's not just till they're 18. And so I love the idea of co-parenting counseling because you're going from one relationship, right? Whether you were married or not married, you had a relationship typically in some way. And now you have to have a co-parenting relationship. And they don't know how to do that, right? Because they're super angry or hurt or whatever it is from this relationship that didn't work for whatever reason. But they have to have a new relationship if they have kids. If you don't have kids, whatever, that's fine. But if they have kids, you still have to have a relationship and they need support for that. So I think the idea of the co-parenting counseling, like I'm obsessed. I'm always referring people for that. And a lot of times if people are in couples counseling and kind of coming out of that as, hey, the marriage isn't going to work. A lot of times I'll say, like, if it's appropriate, you can stay in that space and kind of shift the approach and what you're focusing on. So I think that's been really healthy for families. And I'm glad that there's a lot of us doing that and encouraging that because I think it's good for families.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm glad that your profession has adapted to that.
Oh, yeah.
Like a more holistic way of,
yeah, because it's different, right? Kind of those old timers were a little bit different. A lot of it's different. And so I think it is I think we're coming at it differently.
Yeah. In your work, and I'm going to skip around a little bit in the order of these questions because this one feels just more relevant. In your work, what has your career taught you about relationships and commitment and conflict?
Well, first of all, I think people can change. I've definitely seen change in some of my clients, or if I'm the guardian and the parents, I think people can change. I think it's hard for the other side, the spouses, to accept that they can change. So I think that's one thing that I've learned. Another important thing is work relationships, right? Like my opposing counsel, or even people who work for me now who may leave, those are lasting, right? And so my clients typically come and go, right? Like I don't work in the type of field where I have clients for a long period of time. I hopefully have clients for, 6 months to 2 years on average, right? And then that's it. I don't typically hear maybe post-decree issues. But when I have a case, when they're represented by someone else, like I'm going to have more cases with that person. And so just really trying to put like my professional relationships, making those important. So it's taught me that. I think another thing in my personal relationships, divisions of labor are good. You don't have to do it all. And I think that sometimes when people get divorced, they either pretend that they did more than they actually did, or they're ashamed that they didn't do things, but that's okay. There is an absolute division of labor. I don't think I've ever signed my children up for camp, ever. I just don't. I pick them out. I tell my husband these are the camps they're doing, right? Like we talk about it, whatever. But like ultimately, I probably make more of the decisions of like, I think this is a good activity or a good camp or whatever. And I don't fill out a single form, which I'm so grateful for. And I'm not going to pretend that I do, right? And so I think just like owning that a division of labor is good. And so I think people get hesitant or nervous about that when they're going through a divorce, but I don't think it's something to be nervous about.
Yeah.
So I think all of those things.
That's a lot. Those are big lessons. Did you enter your career thinking you would learn big lessons about people?
I don't think I thought about it. I was like, I want to help kids. I kind of got into this because I wanted to help kids. I wanted to help kids who were going through a divorce.
Hmm.
And I'm super grateful that I do.
Yeah.
I think I do help kids. I think I'm really good at that. It's the part of what I do that I enjoy most. And that was, I mean, I'm grateful that I wanted to help kids. I worked in divorce for a long time, and now I get to do what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I have a question that it's a little bit of a pivot from what we were talking about, but you also do prenuptial agreements. Is that
Yeah.
so? Given the work that you've done on the other end of relationships and, kind of helping with the co-parenting and whatnot, how has that informed the counseling that you do, the guidance that you give when you do those prenuptial agreements? Has it informed that at
Oh
all?
yeah, 100%. I love prenups actually.
Yeah, tell us.
I love doing prenups. They're great because I think, estate planning attorneys also do prenups, and I think they come at it from a good perspective financially. But I just think divorce attorneys are way better at doing prenups because I know what is on the other side. I know the pitfalls to watch for. A perfect example is, some prenups will say you'll keep the debt in your name. Like whatever credit card, if you get divorced, they'll each pay the credit card debt in their name. No, that's a big problem because the wife, for example, like let's just take a typical situation. The wife may be the one going to the grocery store, signing the kids up for school activities, camp activities, birthday parties, all the things, right? But then the debt's all in her name, but it wasn't her debt, it was family debt. So you have to draft around that for a prenuptial agreement.
Hmm.
You know, I like to put in provisions, where if people want to waive maintenance or spousal support, if people are young when they get married, I don't want a blanket waiver. I want language that says if circumstances change, it will be reviewable. So it's not just a hard waiver because you may, and I don't even say it for either spouse. And I don't even say it's because of caring for kids. I just say if you have to care for dependents, right? You could be caring for parents.
Hmm.
So I just think as a divorce attorney, we just see what people fight about and can draft around it and can give better advice.
And I'm sure that gives your clients some peace of mind so that they can then, enter the marriage knowing those are things that have been addressed and covered.
Yeah, I prenups are like one of my favorite things because I like it when both people are on board. Sometimes prenups are hard when it really is forced upon either by the spouse or frankly by the spouse's family, you see as well. Those are the most uncomfortable where it's not even let's say the wife's family is making the wife and the husband enter into a prenup and they're super uncomfortable around it. Those are hard, right? But I just think you have to have those uncomfortable conversations.
Hmm.
The other thing that I really like about prenups, and I do this more and more, is like you kind of can just talk about how you're going to use your money in your marriage, right? Like, are you going to have a joint account? Is all of your money going to go into a joint account? Are you going to each put your paychecks into separate accounts? Are you going to put a specific percentage or a specific amount into a joint account? How are you going to financially live your life? And I don't know that people necessarily have those conversations, but when you're negotiating a prenup, I think those are absolute conversations to have, and I think it's helpful. And it just allows people to have these considerations. So yeah, I think prenups are great. I don't think everyone needs them, right? My husband and I joke when we got married, who had more student loan debt, right? Like that's all we had. We do not have a prenup. I don't regret that we don't have a prenup. We didn't need a prenup. We don't need a prenup, right? So not everyone needs one. But if you're coming in and you have a little something, or if it's a second marriage, if you have children, if there are reasons, then I think they're great.
That's awesome. I'm gonna divert for a second. Have you read the book Strangers, the
No.
memoir?
Mm-mm.
Okay. You both have to read it.
Okay.
You can inhale it via audio in like so quickly, like in less than a day. And
Why'd you bring that up? Tell me about it.
so there's an issue about the prenup. So like basically these two people meet, they are lawyers and they have a prenup. Are they lawyers or are they in financial? I forget now. But anyway, they have a prenup and there's so much controversy around this prenup because what ends up happening is that they agree to if they get divorced and oh my God, that's never going to happen to them, but if that all of the money and property that's only in their name, they get to keep. And there's all this suspicion around so she wrote the book and there's the suspicion that he designed it that way and then put a ton of stuff just in his name
Yeah.
so that he got to keep the majority of what they had earned, like what he had earned together. when he left the marriage.
Which is why you need to give good counsel to people. If you acquire it during the marriage with marital property, even if it's titled in one person's name, it is not just theirs.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, I will say, I don't like to read or watch law shows because I don't watch a lot of TV because I work a lot. I work a lot.
Yes.
And so with a rare occasion, I don't want to watch or read what I do. I need
I hear you.
That's my reality. I'm rewatching Dawson's Creek because it's my favorite show in the world. Or I watched Motherhood.
For life.
Love it. Love it. I don't know. My husband and I, we're watching Arrested Development because we're always behind the times. We just watched Schitt's Creek. It takes us forever to watch something.
Of course, you have kids, but like those are two of the best shows out there.
Have you seen Couples Therapy? I'm like, no, I don't.
Right.
I don't want to.
That's how I feel.
No.
That's my feeling.
I have to say, I listened to Strangers on the recommendation of my therapist, who's amazing, and I like absolutely devoured it because, you know, we all like to hear about the demise of somebody else's relationship. It's really hot. It's fun. But getting back to what you were saying about financial and like protecting yourself financially, either going into a marriage or getting out of a marriage. One of the questions that I had for you was, you know, what are the biggest financial mistakes you see women make going into or leaving a marriage? You touched on the going into already, but like, what about the leaving a marriage? What kind of advice would you give to women to protect themselves financially?
Well, I think during the marriage, two things are important to kind of keep this in mind so that when you leave a marriage, you kind of know what's going on. Number one is I think you should have a joint marital balance sheet. You should go over it yearly and it should be updated. I think that's important so that you know what is there. It could be on any kind of form, right? But I think and here's the thing, if your spouse won't do that with you, if they won't share with you what there is, that's a red flag. So I think it just sort of does two things, right? It informs the spouse what you have. And if they won't share it with you, which is really common, I see that a lot where it's like, I don't know, they wouldn't tell me, it was really secretive. I mean, I think it raises a lot of red flags and I think it kind of is showing who they are. So yeah, that's what I would say is like just to try and know what there is. You don't have to have control of the accounts necessarily, right? Like you may have one that's more of the doer, but you should have access. You should know what there is.
So some financial transparency.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's such a good way to say what I said for way too long. And you're like, this is it. Yeah.
It's all good. This is a podcast. We like the lengthy answers.
Ew.
Fair.
So do you think we're ready for the big final question?
Absolutely. I love the big final question.
Okay, I'll take it. This is actually a version of the question that many therapists will ask a client when we meet with them for the first time. And so we always ask our guests, is there anything, Erin, that we didn't ask you today that you think would be important for our listeners to know? So is there
It's so funny that you asked that because I ask that in all my guardian ad litem cases. I ask that every time when I meet with parents. I go, what have I not asked you that you want me to know?
Yeah, it's a great question.
It is a great question.
Yeah.
What did you not ask me?
Or is there anything about over the years that you've learned, some wisdom? It could be personally, professionally that you just would love to bestow upon.
Yeah, like lean on your friends. Get that close-knit circle and who are your people? Who are your people and just nurture that, right? Like that's what I would say is figure out who your people are and just protect that and value that. That's what I would say.
I could not agree more with that. You know, I don't waste your time with the, people who are maybe just like, they're not doing it for you.
Yeah.
Dive in to the people that adore and love the heck out of you.
Absolutely. It's also a great way to manage the uncertainty of this time, whether you're going through a breakup or a marriage or what have you. Like, surround yourself with community and it helps to offset the anxieties of uncertainty.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Amazing. Erin, it has been such a pleasure having this conversation with you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was great. Thanks, guys. This was fun.
Thank you for being here.
Right. Yay!
Wow, Christina. Oh my goodness. You selected such a phenomenal guest today.
Oh, thank you. I love Erin. Like I said, I don't know if this got recorded or if it was in the introductions before we hit record, but I've known her now for something like, my God, 13, 12 or 13 years. And she's been such a solid presence and such an inspiration to watch her business grow, but also the way that she takes care of people. She just has that sense of care and compassion that she brings to her work. And I'm sure that she leads with that same sense, even though she calls herself a walled off person.
Well, to have such a strong spirit and force advocating for you and your family members in such hard times, I think it's critical. And I really admire the work that she does. I also love that she has found a way in her practice to she does advocacy and, she's representing clients, but she's representing kiddos. I just think it's fantastic. So it sounds like she's really identified what her strengths are, her values are, her desire to support other women in leadership, given that this is a whole team of women.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
I love that. And I also love that once again, we heard the piece of advice about having a strong community. I think that has been a running theme from our leaders. We will keep asking the question, but I'm not surprised now to hear that that is kind of the advice that everyone is giving us on how to succeed.
Absolutely.
Amazing. This was great. I love talking to you, Abby.
I love talking to you. I hope you have a great weekend.
Hey listeners, it's Christina with another coffee break for the brain. This time, I want to talk about something super relevant to the discussion you just listened to with Erin Wilson, and that's the Swedish checklist for gender equality in your everyday life. In Sweden, the Maternal and Child Health Service actively promotes gender equality in parenting. The term gender here doesn't necessarily imply that couples are heteronormative, but it's more focused on the equality of labor. Having an equal division of labor in activities that relate to your home and children increases the chances that everyone in your family will feel satisfied and reduces the risk of poor health. Families who have an open and honest dialogue regarding household chores and children experience greater gender equality. So they've created a checklist to encourage conversations about gender equality. The checklist can be found in a link in our show notes. The two main questions the questionnaire seeks to answer are, how do you share everyday activities and chores in your family today? And how would you like things to work in the future? The checklist consists of a list of a number of household duties, such as watering the plants, taking out the garbage, planning playtime for your children, taking time off when your child is sick, cooking, car-related matters, even remodeling your home. It's pretty comprehensive, and it works even for families that don't include children. You can always answer those questions about pets. You complete the checklist separate from your partner, and then come together to discuss it. This hopefully leads to a discussion about your views and values around how tasks in your family are divided. Then, together, you answer another list of questions about what reasons there might be for differences and what kind of change might make life even better. The checklist is useful before creating a household, so you can be on the same page as your partner about who will do what when your family grows, and it can be used to revisit how things may have changed over time. Personally, I was surprised at how much on the list my husband actually does do on a regular basis, but the list helped him to see how much planning of things that I do. It was an exercise that increased our mindfulness around the choices we make about our daily lives. So check it out for yourself and see what you discover. Have a good month.
For more information on today's guest, check out the show notes for this episode. Thanks for joining us.